What's up, party people? Welcome to Where Does Food, the food history podcast that tells you about the history of food. I'm Elle, and today I have with me...
and I'm Oops All Tim. That's
Oops, all
my
Tim.
official. Yeah, Oops All Tim. I am all Tim. They left out the crunchy bits and just left me there, and now I'm here. Oops All Tim.
Oops, all Tim. Have you punched your golden ticket today, Tim? Because we're going to talk about the sweet nectar of life. We're going to talk about some sugar today.
Sugar.
Sugar. How do you feel about this sweet substance?
I think it'd be weird if you don't like sugar. Can I say that? I think it's
Yes.
weird if you don't like sugar. Sugar
You
gets demonized a lot, and it's a little frustrating just because sugar is good.
Sugar is good.
Sugar
there's
is
nothing.
good.
Yeah.
You know, like it's frustrating that it gets demonized so much. But you know what? I don't know. What a modern thing, you know? What a modern thing to do. It's like this fucking wonderful item that like occurs naturally in the world and that is amazing and it tastes wonderful and it can give you energy. And we're like, fucking sugar, fucking terrible for you. And it's like, maybe, but you know, I love it. It's great.
It's great. You can put it in beverages. You can put it in food.
Yeah, and we do all the time. All the time. We put it in all those things.
It's like just with anything, moderation is key, right? I mean,
yeah. Also, if you don't want to, okay. If you don't want to moderate, okay. Who am I to tell you how to live your fucking life? I'm not a fucking politician, dude. I'm not gonna tell you how to live. I'm also not gonna act like I care about your health. Like, I don't give a fuck about you.
got me's and I got mines. That's it.
You know that like that's the gateway to like being a fucking prick about like weight.
Let me tell you about what you're not doing correctly with your life right now.
Yeah. I'm just trying to say this for the betterment of your health, and it's like, shut up.
Are you gonna pay for my medical bills?
Shut up. You don't care.
That's
that fake person I'm mad at. Well, I mean, they exist. It's just
they definitely exist.
They don't exist. They don't exist in my life right now. So
right.
I'm just making them up for the moment.
For your context, it's fine. I take that. We're keeping it simple tonight, Tim. The rating
Hell
scale
yeah.
is going to be 1 to 100 because sugar is what they say simple. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't need to escalate this 0 to 100. How and what are your thoughts? Not how, but what are your thoughts on sugar?
Listen, I'm going to be a little anticlimactic, and there's not going to be like the purpose of the show is going to go out the window, but I'm giving it a 100. I just don't think I don't know. I don't know I guess there are people that don't like sweets and stuff like that, but sugar I eat at least a little bit of it every day. So like, I mean, it's one of those, when we put sugar down to talk about, it's almost lives separately from the ethos of food in a way. Like it's just like you are going to consume this product.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Just because, like, you know, we use sugar even in small amounts in tons of different foods for tons of different reasons, like ketchup and things like that. Like, it's one of those things that I absolutely love. I pretty much consume a bit of sugar almost every day, whether it be in a little bit of chocolate every day or the current oat creamer that I have for my coffee. Like, you know, sugar's fucking incredible. So it makes all of my favorite foods, most of my favorite desserts, just like it's the reason why, you know, like it's the reason why they even exist to begin with. I've never in my life sat back and said, you know what one of my favorite desserts is? The one where we substitute the sugar. Like, no, I've never done that. And I know that there are dietary restrictions and there are people that have to follow those and they have to reduce the sugar. But like, I am fortunate enough not to have that currently. Not to say it can't happen at some point, but currently I don't. So, I'm going to eat fucking full sugared sweets and do all the fun stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's kind of, and we'll obviously get to that, but that's kind of where the necessity for alternative quote unquote sugar or sweeteners came about, was because of dietary restrictions, and not necessarily because I think we all have this misconception of like sugar diabetes. And it's like, while there can be a correlation made there, but it's not necessarily always the case.
No.
And so to your point, like if you can enjoy sugar, enjoy it.
Yeah, enjoy it a little bit, man. Yeah. What's a couple of fucking teaspoons in your coffee gonna do? You know, especially if you don't have a restriction, what's it gonna do? It's not gonna harm you. Just enjoy it. You know, like I always feel a little antagonistic because I'm just involved in wellness culture to give like an idea of what a lot of my, life is. It's having to listen and hear about everyone's fucking off the wall dietary restriction, new fad thing, and it's a part of my life. It's a part of the world I have to be involved in. So that's why sometimes I kind of bring that energy a little bit where it's angled at the wellness culture. But overall, I think majority of people are okay with just having a little bit of sugar in their life. And I usually do it in the way of either like chocolate, maybe a little bit of candy, or in my coffee. Right. I will say I don't really do full strength sodas, like the full sugar sodas. I actually think those are a bit too much now.
Really? Okay.
I mean, I've talked about Diet Coke on the podcast before. Yeah. I'm a big Diet Coke guy. So
DC guy.
And it almost at one point, I dropped sodas at one point for health reasons because I was entrenched in the wellness world for a while. But weirdly enough, even after I've dropped that part, I don't know, like the diets and the zeros kind of do it for me because they just don't feel as sweet. They don't hit the mouth the same. It's nice. Either way, 100 for me. We have 100. Nowhere to go but down. So good luck.
It might. Who knows? Yeah, this could be a path full of twists, but maybe not so much.
Hey guys, welcome to the ad section. I'm here to tell you real quick about Anchor by Spotify. You may have heard us talk about Anchor at the end of our episodes, is because Anchor is the platform we use to distribute our podcasts. It's totally free. It helps us distribute our podcasts to different platforms. That's how we're on Apple Podcasts. That's how we're on Google Podcasts, CastBox, you name it. They've helped us do that. You can record directly on the app, on the webpage, so you don't even need a super fancy setup. It's super straightforward, totally free. So download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started on your podcast or whatever you like to do. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of the episode. Hey there. It's your host, Tim, stopping the podcast to tell you about an awesome deal that you can get through Rep Sports. Rep Sports is a supplement company, so they help supplement people's workout lives. They have proteins, pre-workouts, post-workouts, recoveries. They have all types of supplements over there, so go check them out and fill out that stack. I know you're getting low. I can feel it. My stack's getting low. I'm about to do me a shop as well. You can also get mine and Elle's favorite energy drink, Raise Energy. I'm telling you, one can get you through the day. Not a problem. Raise Energy is fantastic. No crash at all. So if you go to repsports.com and use the code WDF15, you can get 15% at checkout. Again, WDF15, you get 15% at checkout, and you also get to support this podcast and support your workout routine, man. Go do it. Now enjoy the rest of this podcast that we love doing.
Sugar, spice, and everything nice.
What exactly is sugar? That's a good question. Sugar is a term referring to a broad category of mono and disaccharides, the simplest carbohydrate. Monosaccharides include glucose, galactose, and fructose. Disaccharides include sucrose, lactose, maltose, and trehalose.
Where do you think fructose is from?
I don't know, Tim. It kind of sounds like fruit.
Yeah,
but I'm not
fruit.
Yes. In case you guys didn't know, there are sugars that naturally occur in fruit. So even you having your fruit, you're having sugar. Don't forget.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
Yeah.
It's a type of sugar.
It may not be the white sugar, but it is a form of sugar.
It is important.
And guess what your body does with that sugar? The same thing it would do with white sugar.
No way.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild? But yeah, to your point though, it can be in vegetables, it can be found in dairy products and nuts, and like we said, it also can be found in fruit. So they can be extracted from plants and dairy and be added to foods, or as we're more familiar with it, it can be pretty much made into man-made using those various plant and dairy ingredients as the starting point. Initially, we've kind of briefly scoped over this in a multitude, I think, of podcasts now. But sugar was expensive. Very, very expensive.
Yeah.
Sugar was not just flying around. Yeah, no. One did not just simply acquire sugar. And it really wasn't until the technological and logistic advancements that made sugar into a bulk commodity, which made what we know now as sugar, which is super cheap.
Yeah, sugar. It's like everywhere. You can find it. And it's in, and there's different versions of it in so many different things.
Yes.
It's incredible. It's incredible that you can walk down a sugar aisle. And not only do you have every other alternative sugar in the world.
Yep, you got it.
That isn't actually sugar. There's also like 15 different sugars.
Sugars. Yeah.
Like actual sugars. And it's just, it's amazing. We live in the best time period. I don't know what to tell you guys.
I would say in the food standpoint, yeah. There's nothing to, there's nothing that you can't get,
I mean, every side has a dark side, but come on. Let's be real. Let's be real. We live pretty good lives.
In the grand scheme of things, with all the things that we have access to, yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. That's absolutely the case. So, sugar.
Rent's too goddamn high, though. Fucking A.
Dude. What's going on here?
Rent's too fucking high, but other than that,
too damn high.
Rent's too high, and gas is like a crapshoot these days. But
Hey, that's a hot spot now.
It is a hot spot. We're getting spicy hot on the podcast.
Anywho,
continue.
Let's start this journey, shall we? We can trace sugarcane back to New Guinea, where the indigenous peoples chewed sugarcane raw in 8,000 BCE.
Yeah, damn.
It's a really long time ago. Put it in perspective for you. Yeah, sea traders brought sugarcane cultivation practices to India, China, and the rest of Southeast Asia. We'll talk about that in a second. Around 100 CE, medicinal records for Romans and Greek civilizations show that crystallized sugar was used to treat indigestion and other stomach ailments. Wild, again.
Oh, yeah.
We were using sugar for everything. Then in 350 CE,
it didn't work. It didn't work, but yeah. I love the shit we did for quote unquote medicine. What a fun word that gets thrown around in our like journey of finding out all the different foods. When it's like that, like they meant what it means to say is that we thought this could help.
We definitely thought this was gonna help. And it's crazy because it's going to happen again. It's going to repeat itself.
Yeah, it's like how your parents would just be like, drink like a 7-Up or Sprite when your stomach feels
when your stomach hurts.
Yeah. It's like, just drink a bubbly drink.
The bubbles.
That'll make you feel better, maybe. That's medicine.
We need to know where does food on that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's medicine.
Medicine. Food medicine. No, then in 350 CE, the Gupta dynasty crystallized sugar in India, and around 600 CE, sugar cultivation and processes reached Piraeus, which was then spread into the Mediterranean by Persian expansion into Mesopotamia, or modern-day Iraq. So there's a theory that at the time of inception, while also occurring in New Guinea, that there's also an idea that the Indians were one of the first people, at least in Asia, to cultivate sugar. It's in the Bengal region. Pretty cool. Apparently, the Indian sailors carried sugar via trade routes, and they taught the Chinese about sugarcane cultivation. Early refining methods involved grinding or pounding the cane in order to extract the juice, and then boiling down the juice or drying it in the sun to yield sugary solids that look like gravel. The Sanskrit word gravel, or shakara, means gravel or sand. Similarly, the Chinese use the term gravel sugar.
Brilliant.
I love
that. Yeah, I love that. Evaporate all the fucking water from there and you're left with nothing but the sweet shit.
Super smart. And it's like, we'll talk about it later, but just whenever like they kind of rediscovered the idea of, I guess, sugar part 2, the same thing accidentally happened. Like, we'll get to it later, but yeah, I just thought that's wild. Fast forwarding to 1096 CE, when Crusaders returned from Europe from the Holy Land with quote unquote sweet salt, and in 1101 to 1150 BCE, Lebanese land estates were established to grow sugarcane and export it to Europe. So now we're making our way westward bound. More advanced sugar presses were developed, which meant doubling the amount of juice that was obtained from cane sugar. Starting in 1455, Madeira, which is an autonomous region in Portugal, cultivated and refined sugar, which led to a distribution hub based out of Antwerp, Belgium. I think it's an interesting point because when we talk about chocolate, well, Belgium is one of the countries that are known for exporting chocolate. So it was there early on.
Yeah.
Thanks again to the Portuguese, they brought sugar to Brazil in 1480, and in 1501, Haiti and Dominican Republic was known as Hispaniola, and they had the very first sugar harvest there.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, no clue. I had no clue about that. By 1540, roughly 2,800 sugar cane mills, which, again, I know probably like now when we think about the grandscapes of like industrializations, like 2,800 is not a lot, but that's a lot in the year 1540.
Yeah, that's a good yield, man. That's kind of wild.
Huge. So it's off of Brazil's coast, and then off of the Caribbean and some of the South America, they had 3,000 sugar mills there. It's believed that the Dutch introduced sugar cane to the South America and the Caribbeans, the Barbados. I'm so sorry, you guys. Mariana. Barbados and Virgin Islands. She's going to come for me for that.
It doesn't matter. She's a billionaire, so she's the enemy of the people now. I don't know. I like.
Oh.
Yeah. Listen, Rihanna has slid away from all the controversy because it's fucking Rihanna. But she's a billionaire, right? She's the enemy.
It's all that makeup. And in 1770, sugar represented 20% of all European exports, but 80% of the sugar was produced on sugar plantations in the West Indies by the British and French colonies. Imagine that. 1747.
Wow. Okay. Hey, I love that.
I love that, yeah. 1747 is a German chemist, Andreas Marggraf, identified sugar in beetroots, and it wouldn't be until 1801 that his apprentice, Karl Archer, built a sugar beet processing facility in Poland. Poland has entered the chat.
Yeah, well, I bet people don't realize that a lot of the sugar comes from beets.
No, I will be real with you. I had no clue. Yeah, I had no clue that was even a thing. I'm like, beetroot? What?
Yeah.
1751 is when sugarcane makes its way to Louisiana. And in 1768, the first steam-powered sugar mill was constructed in Jamaica. Boom.
Damn.
Technology.
Yeah. We're revolutionizing.
We're revolutionizing. We're in 19th century Cuba, and it's now become one of the richest lands in the Caribbean, with sugar being its dominant crop. It also prospered above other islands because Cubans used a method of harvesting sugar. They adopted modern milling methods such as water mills, enclosed furnaces, steam engines, and vacuum pans. All these technologies increased the productivity. They also, we'll note, retained the slavery longer than most in that than the rest of the Caribbean islands, which also helped as well. They had human capital at their expense in comparison to other places, which if you didn't pick up on a common theme of the sugar growing that's occurring in the islands, it's all coming off of plantations. Slaves are making sugar.
Yeah.
As French and British colonies are literally exporting it. So I do want to make sure that is understood. If you guys didn't pick up on that last note.
It's not just like a bunch of happy people, you know.
Yeah. No, not the case at all. So we're coming into the 1800s now. We've talked about a few technological advancements that have occurred, but nothing really like, oh, wow. But now we're in the 1800s, and this is what's really playing the vital role in production. So we're about to rapid fire these, okay?
Okay.
I felt like Pat McAfee there. We're about to rapid fire these off. 1813. Edwards Charles Howard invents a fuel-efficient method of refining sugar by boiling the cane juice in a closed kettle heated by steam and held under partial vacuum. Does that method sound familiar to you?
It does.
It does. It does a little bit. 1838, David Lee Child built the first U.S. sugar beet factory in Northampton, Massachusetts. 1852, David Weston becomes the first to use Hawaiian centrifuges to separate sugar from molasses.
There it is.
There it is. 1870, the first successful commercial sugar beet production in the U.S. began in California.
California, man, we're good at sugar and raisins.
Who would have thought?
No, I don't know if they still deal with sugar, but they're like big on almonds and raisins.
Ooh, interesting. I wonder if they ever got in the
almonds.
date game.
They produce like 80. They produce
yeah.
like 80% of the world's almonds. It's fucking nuts out there.
Ha! Literally?
Yeah. Fuck off. I made a pun and I didn't even realize it.
I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
1938. So we're in the 1900s now. The mechanization of sugarcane cultivation began when 16 whole stock harvesters were successfully used to harvest cane in Louisiana. And then this was actually a wild find.
Big.
Yeah.
Louisiana's big with cane sugar. Yeah.
No clue.
Yeah.
No clue about that. 2016 in December marked the last time sugar could be harvested from Maui, which is actually pretty fucking sad.
Wow. Why? What?
Apparently, like all of the crop planting and forest state, like we ruined the grounds.
Oh, damn!
I had no clue. Yeah, sheesh. I know that's a thing. So rip to that.
That's fucked.
But yeah, that's kind of just the journey of just natural sugar in that, because then it's about to we're about to start getting.
Yeah, you had a much sadder episode than the one that I had to research.
A little bit. It was a little sad.
It has an undertone of sadness, doesn't it?
I'm telling you. Yeah, no. It's got a dark, kind of like a dark past. And
for such a wonderful thing, it's got something scary underneath. So.
a little sus, boiling at the bottom of it. So we kind of spoke about it. And this is kind of where advancements in just sugar, in another sense, took hold. So the sugar in its natural, we got sugar alternatives. Sugar, again, we talked about it, was initially super fucking expensive. You couldn't get it. You like had to know someone who had to know someone who had to know someone who like had to know someone to have access to sugar. At the time, people would compare sugar prices to things of like pearls and spices and musk.
Yeah.
Sugar prices declined slowly as its production became multi-sourced throughout European colonies. Artificial sweeteners. You've got, think of like Equal, Splenda, and like Sweet and Low, like stevia and stuff like that. Yeah. Artificial sweeteners may be derived through manufacturing processes of plants or chemical synthesis. There's two types of artificial sweeteners. So it's like non-caloric and then the sugar alcohols.
Yeah, which sugar alcohols are massive right now.
Huge.
Massive right now.
Chances are,
that is, that's pretty much like what's going in to a ton of not only these like new energy drinks that have hit the market, but just a bunch of, the zero sugar stuff. Like sugar alcohols are massive in that world. Sugar-free chocolates, candies, things like that. Sugar alcohols are big right there because it gets you really close to sugar in terms of taste, and the only real side effects from it is that if you eat too much of it, you get like slight bowel issues, but it's nothing major. Like, it's not gonna destroy you or anything. So sugar alcohols are really popular right now, kind of taking over the artificial game in terms of just like mass product, and they're cheap apparently.
And and that's of course we're like that's what we love to see in production of like things. That's like they're like, oh, it's cheap, got it, we're doing that. So you've probably heard of some of these. So aspartame, it's usually Equal. Those are usually the blue packets. You got sucralose, which is Splenda, usually in the yellow packets, and saccharin, which is Sweet and Low. You usually also see that in the pink packets. So
and saccharin was real big in the 70s, 80s, something like that, and then it got like a bad rap. We talked a little bit about that in soda because saccharin was the OG use in diet sodas.
Yes.
And then aspartame has come along, and it's like one of the most studied fucking things on the planet because everyone's worried it's going to give you fucking cancer for looking at it, and it's like it's probably fine.
So I'm really glad you brought that up because a lot of what early testing of products were on humans, and then they decided to go to more controlled, quote unquote, animal testing. But kind of one of the unfortunate things, besides like testing on animals, is just the fact that you really can't garner, like part of your thing was like, I think produced like bladder cancer in rats, but humans have something they're able to digest the aspartame, so it's not necessarily something that was I don't say legitimate concern, but a concern. It's
not like a 1-to-1.
Yes. Yeah, right, exactly. Before the 1950s, the main reason for artificial sweeteners was really just the cost. It wasn't necessarily a medicinal issue or a dietary issue. It was just because it was cheaper to produce. and people didn't have access to sugar. So saccharin was discovered in 1878 in Johns Hopkins University laboratory of Ira Remsen, a professor of chemistry. In 1884, after he left Remsen's lab without notifying a co-discoverer, a Russian chemist named Konstantin Fahlberg, who worked alongside Remsen at the same sugar shipping company, he applied for German and American patents on a new method for producing saccharin more cheaply in greater quantities without the knowledge of his partner. Doctors began to prescribe it to treat headaches, nausea, and corpulence. So these two guys discovered it. And again, this was the guy, Remsen was the guy who went home, he was like baking some bread, and he tasted it, and he was like, damn, that's sweet. And then he realized that he had knocked some of the substance over when he was at home, realized that it made it into the bread, and that's what prompted him to go back to the lab and like a scientific madman, taste his beakers. But then he tried to go behind his buddy's back and be like, hey, I know a way of making a lot of this shit pretty quickly. And then, of course, we went back to like, oh, we're going to start prescribing this to you guys. In 1908, the Department of Agricultural Bureau of Chemistry, Harvey Washington Wiley, proposed the first saccharin ban, taking his case straight to President Theodore Roosevelt. Teddy was like, dog, what are you talking about? I have this shit every day. I'm fucking fit as a fiddle. I'm fine. You're ridiculous. Yeah. I'm going to fire you if you continue on this page. Cumberland Packing Corporation introduced Sweet and Low, a mixture of saccharin and cyclamate, another artificial sweetener. The two chemicals balanced each other, with cyclamate blunting the bitter aftertaste of Sweet and Low. Sweet and Low tasted more like real sugar, apparently, and those little pink packets brought artificial sweeteners into diners and coffee shops.
You said apparently. I agree. Shit tastes awful.
No, yeah, you can definitely still have the apple taste. Yeah, the aftertaste is there.
Saccharin is not it, man. It really isn't.
No.
At least not in terms of just like in the pink packets. I think it like I said, diet sodas are all right.
Diet sodas are all right. Absolutely. Yeah. So, this is kind of where it like 1963 through 1967, kind of in between that time. Artificially sweetened soft drinks like Coca-Cola nearly tripled their market share, growing to over 10% of the soda market.
Yeah.
Which is absurd. 1979, 44 million Americans use saccharin daily.
Yeah. I mean, what Diet Right was the first big diet soda. You should go listen to that 2-parter. It's good. I did it. Yeah, no, Diet Right, which is RC Cola's diet soda.
Diet drink.
They were the first one that kind of rolled it out, and yeah, I mean, it was massive for those companies, man. It really was. Like, sugar was starting to get a bad rap, right? Like, medically, dentists were talking about how it was, rotting teeth, yada yada yada, all this shit. So yeah, I mean, it right time, right time type of shit.
Absolutely. And then in 1981, that's when aspartame really took on the U.S. food market and took it by storm. And then you came into the 1990s, and that's when sucralose became the main artificial sweetener.
Yeah.
The only difference was that this one's kind of derived from natural sugar, but it's still, again, it's a duration, so it's not.
Yeah.
In the U.S., the FDA has approved 8 artificial sweeteners, and two of which have natural origin, stevia and monk fruit, and then 6 synthetically derived sweeteners. Like I said, that we've already talked about 3: acetylfulmane, potassium, neotame, saccharin, sucralose, and advantame.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to me that there's still, I don't know, maybe 100 years or maybe 50 years, 40 years, whatever. Maybe that isn't that long of a time, but I just feel like these things have been around for so long and they've been studied so heavily, like that concern just doesn't feel legitimate to me,
No, that's a really good. Yeah, no, I mean,
I'm not a sugar doctor. I don't fucking know, man. Like maybe the alternatives really are bad, but I don't know. It feels like I have to have faith in the years and years and decades of
research,
of test. Yeah. And research that's been done on these fucking items, because it keeps getting brought about that they're not healthy for us. They're not safe. So they keep getting tested and retested and retested. And the only hints at like cancer and stuff is when you either overload it or if it's just not a direct like correlation. Right. You know what I mean? Like for instance with the rat thing, where it's like, well, humans have a slightly different like physiology, so it's not the same.
It's not an apple to apple comparison, and that's also part of it too. Like just like genetically, like a lot of times I'm gonna say this lightly, but I feel like whenever you go to the doctor, there's a reason why they treat you or at least look at you for your genetics and what kind of diseases run within your literal DNA. And so it's like you have that, and I think to that point, like diet's going to play into that. But again, you kind of already have something working against you that may not that has to do with just, in my opinion, the evolution of your family tree. I mean, like I don't know how else to put it.
Like, and I don't know I don't know if this is true. I may be talking out of my ass.
Same.
Here,
yeah, absolutely. No, same.
I'm pretty sure like the governing theories right now are that gut biome and genetics play a major role into what you face in terms of like any sort of disease, cancer, things like that. Like those two seem to have a way higher impact than things that have been proven to be safe in the way we consume them.
Right.
You know, again, if you're not going out of your way to like eat like 2,000 fucking, if you're not going out of your way to drink 2,000 fucking Diet Cokes in a day, you know what I mean? Like it's probably, which I don't think most people are. So I think we're okay.
But
again, I could just be speaking out of my ass. I know colon cancer has gone up in men, and like, you know, I know that there's things like that have happened, but it's, you also can't necessarily just make that connection. You can't just say, well, look at this rise. Like it's happening because of all this different food. It's like, I guess.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we can maybe make that assumption, but like.
You can say that, I guess, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there's any like, you know, empirical evidence for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So kind of with that. Yeah. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, so, you know, enjoy your Coke Zeros and shit like I do, and fuck anybody. You know what? Don't trust anybody who says a regular Coke is better for you than a diet. So
I feel like do your taste preference off that, you know?
Yeah, just you should question that person immediately if they think diet beverages are somehow worse for you or equally as bad. They are not.
And again, I
don't know how else to say it.
A lot of this probably also just stems from like an unwarranted reaction to like fads that have taken over the years, because it's like I feel like you can go back to these dates and see a correlation between what people were emphasizing to do at that time period.
150 fucking %. I mean, like, we talk about it all the time. There's a new government, you know, guideline that came out that fucking year. And so you saw a plethora of like high fat diets or what, you know what I mean? Like, it happens all the time.
All the time.
Society is privy to the social contagions of different ideas. You know what I mean? It's like we're just privy to it. It's a part of it. It's a part of, we live in a society. It's a part of it. So.
Favorite meme. I could not leave out high fructose corn syrup. I couldn't leave it out. Yeah. It was introduced to America about 1975. High fructose corn syrup. It's sugar syrup derived from corn. That's pretty much what that is. It from 1975 to 1985, it took the food world by storm. It was added into all of the foods, into all of the soft drinks.
Yeah.
Probably like, but why though? I was curious about that. Why?
It's cheaper.
It's cheap. It's cheaper, and
it's cheaper, and it's sweet.
and that was the biggest thing. So like, in 1977, the U.S. implemented sugar quotas, and it was like, there was like a system of like sugar tariffs that were implemented within that. So it pretty much like significantly increased the cost of imported sugar, and so U.S. producers were like, we can't make food. This cost is too high. We can't spend all this cost on shipping. So they were like, how are we going to figure this out? High fructose corn syrup is derived, like I said, from corn, and was more economical because the domestic U.S. price of sugar was twice the global price, and the price of corn was low enough through government subsidies and that were paid to growers. And it became an attractive substitute and was preferred over cane sugar among majority of American food and beverage companies.
Yeah. I mean, we're a corn country, baby.
Corn country. Nebraska loves it.
What I mean?
And so...
Yeah. Oh, so you're telling me that we can get sugar from this corn? Sounds good.
Corn. I love it. Yeah. It's pretty much with all diet trends. And we've kind of looped back to finding or utilizing, I say, like quote-unquote natural sweeteners. So this is going to be like your honey, your agave, molasses, using dates, even coconut and maple syrup.
All does the exact same shit in your body.
Yes. Yes.
I hope I burst some bubbles with that.
No, well, so maple syrup, thing with maple syrup, it's natural, right? It literally comes from a tree. Don't forget, like you gotta bang the thing into the tree and get the sap out.
Yeah, you tap the tree, you tap it, you sap it, and then you fucking you
tap it and sap it. I love that. Thank you. Put that on a t-shirt. It's got calcium.
Tap it, and sap it. That's for sure. That's gonna be my tramp stamp for sure. Tap it and sap it.
Is that gonna be the unofficial tattoo for this podcast?
Yeah, that's my tramp stamp.
Okay, incoming. I'll take that.
Tap it and sap it.
Yeah, so it's got calcium, potassium, and zinc, and so it's like that's again something that's quote unquote sweet, but it's natural. Yeah. It just naturally occurs. So yeah, I think it's kind of interesting. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, I mean, I was wondering if you were going to mention like honey and maple syrup and agave and all that stuff. Just it's a sugar. It's just a different type of sugar. Like that's it. Like, I mean, it's again, that's all this shit is. It's just sugar.
It's just sugar. We've done this for a little bit now, and I think it is interesting to see the foods that have legitimately stood the test of time.
Yeah,
things that if they've been around since like Roman and like early dynasties in Asia, it's good to think that like they didn't have the advancements that we have now. So I mean, if the product then was okay, it's for the most part, like you said, we have years of all this research. It's probably okay now. And now we've seen, obviously, like throughout history, there's been times where we were incredibly wrong about things. But for the most part, some of these foods, I mean, I don't know. I think it is a testament to time.
Yeah, right. To an extent, I can see what you're laying down there.
Yeah,
like I mean, obviously, we even said earlier, like obviously, sugar's not fucking like it's not medicine you just munch on and it just cures like a stomach ache. You know what I mean? That's obvious, but I agree. I think if we've been eating this shit for that long, I think we're okay. And like I said, in the grand scheme of history, I get it, like saccharin and shit, all these kind of newer things. 50 years. 100 years, like it's not the longest time in the grand scheme of history, but the fear about them were very real, and the research behind them is a lot of money have been put in behind finding out what those foods will do to our bodies. So,
and also guys, the sample size is incredibly large. I mean, at one point you've got 44 million Americans like ingesting this stuff. I mean I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's sugar. That's all the sugar.
That's sugar.
That's all we got. What do you think? Are you still at your hundo? No? Yes?
Yeah. I can't dip it, man. I just, like I said, I was gonna take all the suspense out. I truly sugar's a perfect food in a different way, not in the way that like a normal perfect food would be, where it's like, oh, like this is like one of my favorite fucking things in the world.
Oh,
like,
yeah, okay.
Like I mean, granted, I do love it, but it's just it has to be. It's too important, right? Like it's too important of a food not for it to exist at a perfect food. It is. It's a perfect food. It has stood the test of time. It helps create some of the best things in the world.
Yes.
I mean and I don't just mean sugar and the cane sugar. I mean sugar, like naturally occurring sugars help create so many things that we love, from jams and jellies to fucking beers and wines. And like it's the sugars, like what we do with the sugars in those things is what really creates so much of our food. It has to be a perfect food. It is a perfect food on Where Does Food.
Wow.
And Elle, I appreciate your research on this. I thought you did a fucking bang up job for what on the onset is a very direct, straightforward history, but
yes,
you did a wonderful job of steering into the alternatives in food and sugar as it is for society. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
Good job.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
And we're going to go to Tim's favorite parts. We always end the podcast with our 2 favorite segments. My favorite part, probably, just because I thoroughly enjoy talking about sugar alternatives. It's that part. I love it. I really do. I think sugar alternatives are great. And anytime we get to talk about Teddy Roosevelt and Mr. Wiley, which I believe is his second appearance on Where Does Food. Didn't think we'd be running into that asshole more than once.
Oh, yeah.
But anytime we get to talk about those 2, good time, fun time. Now we're going to go to our other segment before we end the show. Elle's final thoughts. Elle, what are your final thoughts?
I think that it was pretty cool how my guy was.
That's great. We love it. The great final thought. Crushed it. We love that so much.
Thank you. No, just be in the corner.
Yeah, we love that. That's it. That's Where Does Sugar. Welcome to the end of the podcast. Maybe you heard the song at the beginning. Maybe you heard the song at the end. You better enjoy it now because it's changing soon, baby. This is episode 9 of season 4.
What?
We are almost wrapped on the season. So enjoy this theme while you can because it's not going to be around for much longer. And you can enjoy the person who made it. Well, I mean, you enjoy me every other week for hosting this podcast. But the other person that you can enjoy is Austin Martin. He goes under the name Meridian Sky. And you can find him on Apple Music and Spotify. Find him, guys. He's got a bunch of music in the works. He's been grinding. He's been doing the whole thing. So
crushing it.
Yeah, it's instrumentals. It's great. Go listen to it. He's he's a very thoughtful individual. So his music reflects that same thoughtfulness, and it's wonderful. Guys, you can check us out on wheredoesfood.com. Yeah, we have a website. We do a thing, and just to give a little insight into the future, we are about to do a revamp. I figured we'd mention it now, right? We've been holding our tongue.
Just let them know. That's
the
true.
Last few episodes here, but with the second to last episode, guys, after season 4, we have a big revamp coming up for season 5. We're talking, probably a web redesign. Elle and I have been talking about merch for literally the inception of this podcast, so we're gonna discuss that type of stuff, and we're also going to be changing our distribution platform very soon. Season 5 will have all that, and of course we will update you over on our Twitter. Goddamn, I'm a professional as fuck. All right,
absolutely.
That's the most professional transition in the world right there. You go check us out at Twitter on @WhereDoesFood. Again, we are gonna be. We still have another episode left in this season, but we will keep everyone up to date from when we change platforms. But yeah, you can hit us up and keep track of all that over on Twitter at @WhereDoesFood. You can follow me on Instagram at Tim_and_Winston. You can follow Elle.
I'm back on Twitter at Elle Chapo with 3 underscores between the L and the Chapo.
That's what's up. And you can also, for the time being, find our RSS feed on anchor.fm/wheredoes-food.
Yes.
You can go there and check us out. We do have a supporter button going on for right now, but as I said, things will be changing. That location will be changing. The podcast home will be changing, and we'll keep you all up to date on that shit. So just keep an eye out for all that. In the meantime, while you wait for those wonderful changes, you should go give us a rating, a like, a star, a something on any platform that allows you to do so, because that is what makes the algorithm churn, baby. That's what helps us out the most. Listen, guys, the algorithm really does rely on that stuff, and it's a super easy, simple way to help us out. Seriously, it's so simple. If you listen to us even on a semi-regular basis and you like us, go leave a review. It helps a ton. And if you leave enough reviews, we will show our buttholes.
Tim will.
We will not be showing our buttholes. Also, another good way to help us out is to trap your friends and family in a closet and play it loud on a radio until they agree that they like the show as much as you do. Yep. That is the best way to get the show out and about and into people's ear holes. That is all I got. That is episode 9 of Where Does Food Sugar, baby? Yeah, have a good one.